He's Blake. I'm Ronnie. All the good names are taken. Podcast Blake, and we're back for another edition, episode, whatever you want to call it, of Trailer Park. This was your gimmick, Blake, trying to prove to everybody that the trailers from the 70s and 80s gave away just as much as the trailers today.
Yes.
So to stick with the gimmick, Blake, the first trailer for today, I guess the only trailer for this episode, is Friday the 13th Part 2. You think people popped in the drive-ins and the walk-in theaters whenever they heard this right here and said, oh, God, there's going to be another one. I love it.
They were probably like, hey, quit talking. Trailer's on.
Moonshot.
Hello?
On a June night in 1980.
This voice is amazing. When I think of trailers, Blake, I think of this guy.
Friday the 13th. 12 of her friends were murdered.
Is that true? Were 12 people murdered?
Yeah.
I don't think there were 12 people murdered. All right, let's go through it. We've got Annie, Resuscitation Annie, then Ned, then the chick, the surfboard chick that wanted to play Strip Monopoly, then Kevin Bacon and his squeeze. We're up to 5. Then the guy that chopped up the snake. That's 6. Let's see. Who else do we have? Okay. Then we go to Steve Christie. That's 7. And then Mrs. Voorhees gets killed. So that's 8. I don't know if we consider Mrs. Voorhees her friend. So how did 12 of her friends die? Got a liar. Edit.
Why should Friday the 13th, 1981 be any different? Friday the 13th, Part 2.
Gives it away right there. He's got a bag on his head.
The body count continues. 14.
All doomed.
There's in this town now.
You're all doomed.
15.
They counted that as 1 because the woman didn't count.
God.
16.
We know the deputy gets it.
17.
We know Big Sexy gets it.
18.
We know Special Olympics gets it.
Nice editing there, too.
Yeah, it made it like he got stabbed with the spear. Oh, sorry.
19.
Oh, here he comes.
20. 21.
That could have been anybody. That could have been somebody that partied too hard, and that's how he's getting down the steps. Or it could have been the guy from the wheelchair trying to get down the steps.
22.
We just gave away that Crazy Ralph's going to bite it and the trailer.
23.
Unless people, Blake, in the actual theater thought that Crazy Ralph was going to overpower being strangled against a tree like that, Hulk out of there.
Maybe the wire breaks.
Sandra? Jeff?
Are y'all screwing? Or are they going to
The
get this
day
way?
you count on for terror
No, they
is
didn't.
not over. Friday the 13th, Part 2.
What do you think, Blake?
It's a very well done trailer. I want to see the movie.
gives away a lot. Imagine if most of these YouTubers were alive and YouTube was a thing back then, they would have been zeroing in on every shot, ruining the movie, and then complaining that the movie was ruined. So, you know, it's sort of like the chicken and the egg, Blake. What came first?
I think it's been scientifically proven the egg came first.
How is that possible? Who out that egg?
Ask science.
All right, guys. So that's Friday 13th, part 2, as we bring you trailers from the 80s and 90s and 70s that Blake says gives away just as much as the trailers today.
Well, let's talk about this trailer, Ronnie. I mean, you're riding the success off of Friday the 13th, part 1, where you know the mom was the killer and you know she was decapitated. So from that trailer alone, who do you think that killer is? You see what appears to be a male wearing a bag over his head. I mean, is there anybody out there watching that trailer for the very first time that says, wait a minute, that must be Jason, the legend of the boy who drowned? I mean, I don't think they're drawing that conclusion. Do you?
Well, considering the end of Friday the 13th is Jason coming out of the lake, I mean,
Ma'am, there wasn't no boy. That was a dream, Ronnie.
Well-
So I'm thinking like maybe it's like my mind goes straight to it's the father, and we're never going to see him in the whole movie until the end, just like Pamela. They're going to go the exact same formula since it worked, and now it's going to be the husband of the woman you guys killed.
that would have been a way to go. But instead, they went the Jason route and created a franchise that made tons and tons of money. All right, guys, that'll do it for this episode. Blake, anything before we go?
What do you think about that, Ronnie? What if it was the husband trying to get revenge for his wife in part 2, and then Jason comes back in part 3? Am I messing with the formula too much? Am
I
I
don't
messing
know
with
if
the franchise?
I don't think you're messing with the franchise too much. It very well could have been the father in part 2, and I think it would have worked at the end of it if you'd have unmasked him, and if it's just an old man, and the cops say, "Hey, this is Peter Voorhees." We named him that because he's slinging Peter and got Pamela pregnant. And then at the end, Jenny, they were planning to bring Jenny back, but if you had no plan to bring Jenny and Paul back, you could have Jason show up and grab one of them at the very end for the shock value again. So, I mean, it would have worked. You could have come back with part 3, Jason in a hockey mask. But
No, that's
part
a good
2
idea.
yeah, part 2 holds such a special place in my heart that I can't picture it being any other way. If there was ever a time, and you're probably going to disagree with me, if there was ever a time to bring back the father in Friday the 13th, it probably needed to be part 5, because you've had the run of Pamela and then Jason wreaking havoc over Crystal Lake, and then Tommy goes to the insane asylum, and all of a sudden people start dying there. The only person that should hold a grudge, you killed my boy. But, all that doesn't make sense either. I mean, would the reveal of it being a Voorhees father in part 5 been better than Roy?
I think so. Even though like part 5 is starting to grow on people, I think at first if it had just some kind of tie, it would have worked.
Hit us in the comments. What did you think of the Friday 13th Part 2 trailer? Did it give away too much? Was it perfect? What do you think about Blake's idea of the father Voorhees being the killer in Part 2 versus my idea of bringing him back in Part 5? That's it, Blake. See you next time, guys.
All right.